This is gonna be a mess. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Trilogy Time. I'm your host, ADG, and we're talking about trilogies. Now, I'm talking about a trilogy that I didn't know existed at the beginning. You see, I only watched the first film some time ago. And then I discovered that there was actually a sequel to it, which I promptly bought, and was extremely disappointed. I'm talking about something I referenced on the Adrian Talks. In the Name of the King. I'm going to find another portrait. You have also seen it on the thumbnail. But yeah, I'm going to talk about the In the Name of the King trilogy. And oh boy, do I have some things to say about this trilogy. First of all, the first film was In the Name of the King, a Dungeon Siege Tale. Now, I have to be honest, I didn't know that a dungeon siege was even a thing. Like, I didn't know that was the actual title of the In the Name of the King in the first movie. In the Name of the King 1's main character was a man known as Farmer. That was his only given name throughout the whole movie, except for like almost at the end of the movie. Farmer is a simple farmer living on the kingdom of Eb. EHB. Now, during all this, an evil Ray Liotta is trying to gain more magic, and he gains control of the Krug. Some basically, like I say, a cheap orcs. If you can't have orcs, have the Krug. I didn't know the Krug were a thing as well. And evil Ray Liotta is trying to gain more power and conquer everything, the kingdom of Eb. The wizard knows about this. A bunch of things happen. And this movie, it doesn't have it doesn't have this much of a glorious thing like you have with other movies. This one is a little bit, let's say, underwhelming if you were expecting something else. For me personally, I really enjoyed the first movie. When I was a kid, my dad got it. I don't know how. I say I don't know how because it wasn't like a disc. It was, let me find the disc because I still have it already. It's right here. Let me just, oh, here it is. See, it's basically like a illegal copy, but I don't know, maybe it was my uncle's. In the Name of the King had a budget of $60 million. That's why they got Jason Statham to play the lead role. But other than that, their other actors were minor actors, at least not actors that I know of. But of course, there was Ray Liotta as the main character, the main bad guy, and he was a wizard. The final battle, I mean, not the final battle, but the forest battle of In the Name of the King 1 is by far one of my favorite fantasy battles of all time. When I was a kid, I used to put papers together and draw that entire battle. I used to love the Mead Guard from the King. They were basically medieval ninjas, which was amazing. I love that the Krug were so fierce because one of them got turned on fire and he was like sitting on the catapult just like yoink. Let's go. And the first movie, I really enjoyed it. I really loved it as a kid, and it's still in my heart one of my favorite medieval movies and medieval fantasy, just like Lord of the Rings or some other fantasy movies which I can't really remember right now. But it's a really great movie in my opinion. Some people may not like it. Some people say it's the worst fantasy movie, but I disagree. I'm going to talk about it right now. Now, before I advance, we also know in the movie that Farmer was actually the son of the king of Eb, and his name was Camden Conread. And also, I believe the same actor that did Shaggy, I think he was, played another helping bad guy, but he was more of a coward, and he was just useless. Now, in the Name of the King 2, with a very reduced budget, like, oh man, the first one was 60 million, and they did a decent job. I actually enjoyed it. The special effects were really good for the first movie, and the story felt okay, and everything, like as a whole, I really enjoyed the movie. Now, in the Name of the King 2, The Two Worlds, it felt really cheap. Like, I don't know why, but the movie felt like those type of indie movies that they have a lot of shaky cams and a big ample screen and all that, but it had an indie movie feel instead of like in the first one we had a very high fantasy and fiction and just boom over the top high stakes everywhere. But this one felt more like an indie film, and it's 4.5 million budget. They at least tried. That's why I'm telling you that they at least tried with the first one. So what happens? Dolph Lundgren is the lead character of, well, of In the Name of the King 2. To my surprise, I didn't know that Ivan Drago from Rocky was actually it didn't look like that one. But yeah, in that story, this former Special Forces veteran gets pulled back in time to the kingdom of Ebb, and he lives on Vancouver, Canada. This is why I say that it doesn't feel like if you saw the last video of Adrian Hawks, I said that the second one kind of feels like it's in the same universe as the first one, because obviously it's we're in the kingdom of Ebb, but it doesn't feel like it because the kingdom of Ebb would be in a fictional place, like an entire different Earth. It doesn't look the same. It's not on Europe. So I'm like, okay, so technically he's been pulled through dimensions, to a one dimension being Earth, our Earth, and another dimension being the Earth from the kingdom of Ebb. So basically two different dimensions, two different alternate universes, which were weird, and he's also being pulled back in time. You see, this is a whole mess. Well, the thing is, he gets pulled back in time, he has to stop the Holy Mother. But in reality, it's actually revealed that he was a baby sent from the kingdom of Ebb to the future time. He was left on an orphanage, and maybe so Dolph Lundgren may be the son or grandson of Jason Statham's character, Camden Conreed. So Granger, which is the name of Dolph Lundgren's character, Granger will be a Conreed, probably. I don't know. The story is a mess. But, I mean, it's a mess, but in a kind of a good way. It's a bit complicated. I have a lot of mixed feelings about this movie. It's not that it's bad as a fantasy movie. As a concept, we have seen this concept before, like a guy from modern times get transported back into fantasy or some other time, and it has worked in the past. But in this movie, it kind of didn't for some reason. And also some things happen on the movie that were just like, too... Like, you would find some of that tropes, like in animes, in harem animes and all this stuff. Like, yeah, all the girls are looking after the main character. Stuff happens. But now, the CGI for that movie obviously suffered since it didn't have such a big of a budget. If In the Name of the King 2 had at least the same budget or a little bit more, they could have done better and made the dragon look a little bit better, because it didn't look really good. The catalyst, that's how the dragon was called. And now we go to In the Name of the King 3. The Last Mission. Main character was portrayed by Dominic Purcell, which honestly, in this picture of Dominic Purcell, I'm just gonna try to show it to you if I can. Okay, looks a little bit too similar to Cain Velasquez from UFC. Like, I'm gonna show a picture in comparison. Like, I'm gonna put it here, and the faces look a bit too similar. The faces look a bit too similar to Cain Velasquez. So I was actually, it's something interesting. Now, continuing the trope of the second one, this special assassin, the guy is an assassin, so he's a hired killer, hired gun, however you want to call it. He lives on Bulgaria, and so he wants to retire. So they give him a final mission. He has to kidnap the daughters of some mafia guy. I don't know. I don't even know what the hell the plot was, because the movie just went downhill the moment it started. Like, I was so damn confused. Well, it had a budget of $3 million only, and it was recorded in Bulgaria, because if you need a cheap place with woods, you go to Bulgaria, like in the, or Canada, like in the Wrong Turn series. It's either Bulgaria or Canada. For God's sakes, I have just started talking about this movie, and I am sick of it. Okay? The story, trash. The pacing was awful. And, oh my God, like, they didn't even, it feels like they didn't even try. The main bad guy, the evil king, that guy didn't even bother to cover the actual tattoos the actor has. He had just a bunch of tattoos, and it was just bad. Like, the CGI of the dragon was just, oh my God, it was horrible. And I really just don't like this movie. It feels even cheaper than the second one. Like, I don't know how you can get that to happen. And Uwe Boll, who was basically in charge of every single movie, I think he just didn't give a damn. And it followed the same pattern. Like, okay, Jason Statham, he was already married and had a son, and boy, they killed his son. They killed the kid in that first movie. So they weren't pulling anything. They weren't holding themselves back. They killed the children and the elderly with no mercy. The second one, like, we have this medic who she suddenly is into Dolph Lundgren's character for no absolute reason. And one of the sisters from the In the Name of the King 3 also has a thing for the dashing. Like, the artwork for In the Name of the King 3 makes you think that it's gonna actually be like, wow, this guy from the modern age is gonna put up his suit and armor, and it was, no, it didn't happen. It didn't happen. It sucks. Like, this movie, In the Name of the King 3 and In the Name of the King 2, are so different movies. Like, for example, the third one doesn't even happen on Eb. It happens on Bulgaria, of all places. Come on. He is transported into medieval Bulgaria. I feel like the only redeemable traits of this trilogy, and I use the term very lightly because I really don't consider the third one to be part of the In the Name of the King series, because it doesn't take on the same place. And I don't know, it just makes me, I have so many different emotions coming with me at the same time that I just can't really express myself well. But overall, in the trilogy time, I always gave a rating. So, bronze, it goes definitely for the third movie. Bronze, I don't even want to rate it because it doesn't deserve it. but I'm gonna give it a rating because I have 3 levels: bronze, silver, and gold. So bronze ADG logo goes to In the Name of the King 3. Silver ADG logo goes to In the Name of the King 2, for obvious reasons, and the golden logo goes to the In the Name of the King 1, for obvious reasons. In the Name of the King 1, the first one, is in many ways superior to the other 2 films. I suggest you watch In the Name of the King 1 for yourselves to have your own opinion, and I really suggest watching the second one. It's entertaining in its own way. I did expect like a sequel of Camden's character, like being the king and leading his armies against some evil force coming their way, but no, we got a time travel fantasy movie, which was alright. It was enjoyable, at least. Overall, I was very disappointed in this trilogy when I got like this thing. I found it on Pet Boys. I was walking there and there was a section that they sell movies for $5, and I found all 3 of them for $5, and I was like, hey, In the Name of the King 3. I didn't know there was a third one, so I grabbed it, bought it, and at least I have In the Name of the King 1. Like, In the Name of the King 1 at least is worth the $5. But overall, no, I'm disappointed. So, thank you guys for watching. This has been Trilogy Time. Up in the Discord server, I'm going to make voting for the next trilogy that I will be reviewing. And it will be either the Rush Hour Trilogy, Thor Trilogy, Star Wars Prequel Trilogy, Star Wars Sequel Trilogy, or the original continuity, like episodes 4, 5, and 6. So, thank you guys for watching. I will see you later. Make sure you subscribe if you enjoyed this video, or if you want me to suffer again, like talking about movies that disappoint me. This has been AG. This was In the Name of the King, and I will see you on the next one. Make sure to subscribe as well, because it really helps.